Hey, what's up, troublemakers? This is Jay with S3 Tint and Temple. Back at it again. Got a toque on because yes, it is cold outside. So here we have a wonderful 2017 BMW X6. Customer is getting tinted, I think, for the first time. Beautiful car. Love the red interior that matches the red paint. It's very nice. It's a very nice looking car. Although me, I'm not much of a BMW fan, but this one looks pretty good. All right, so not much to say here. I don't really have a topic for this video, so we're just gonna go ahead and tint it. Yay, winter, eh? All right, whoa. Let's do it. We're doing a full install on this guy. So looks like we got quarter window, a quarter window, and then a second quarter window. We'll call them quarter windows, not necessarily that they are quarters of what, right? But anyways, call them quarter windows, or quarter panels if you want. But anyways, we got a small panel here, got a small panel there, and then we have our roll down windows. So these windows are gonna be pretty easy to tint. The only time where windows like these quarter windows become difficult, often actually, often people who are getting windows tinted and people who are maybe tinting for the first time, like tinters, they often think that quarter windows are the easiest windows. These type of quarter windows are, because there is significant space, just because I can see a ceramic edges. So these have a lot of space to put the film in behind the ceramic. But these ones are easy, but quarter windows are generally actually the hardest, based on the quality of work you want to do, or depending on the quality of work you want to do. Because these ones, again, are easy to tuck in. However, there are a lot of sealed, partial sealed, and fully sealed windows where there isn't anywhere to put the film behind. So you have to try to get the film underneath the rubber seal in order to give it a nice factory look, right? Without any light gaps, or at least with as minimal amount of light gap as possible. And those windows are actually the hardest to do, and to keep them clean, because you can imagine how much contamination gets in there and then stays in there. And even though it's sealed by the rubber, contamination, dust, it will get where it wants to get to. It's almost like water when you think about it. So when you open up those seals, there can be a lot of contamination that can come out and into your job and into your workspace, into your tint job, and then ruin that quality of that panel or that window. But in this case, these are going to be easy. So anyways, yeah, we got felt. So I'm going to go ahead. I learned the hard way. My tape, usually very dependable, breaks into its shreds when it's cold. I didn't know that until just now. So I left it in front of the heater so that it could warm up. And just a little bit of useless information there. So just make sure your tape is nice and warm. Oh shit! Before you try to use it. Come on. Jump out. I don't know why you keep moving out. There we go. So of course, I'm gonna tape these seals like we do. I'm taping these ones because there is felt. I do not like felt. Save yourself the hassle. Don't try to just clean around these, or just thinking that if you clean, that'll be enough. Sometimes it is. More times than not, it's not. And so you're better off just taping these and taking care of them this way. I can see that, if you guys can see, the tape is not sticking. That's because there is a coating from like a shine coat that's, detailers put on things to make them look shiny and new. That's on there, and so it can't stick to that very coated, slippery surface. This is not conducive for tape. So this is going to be kind of tricky. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the coating off of the door so that my tape can actually stick to the surface. All right, this is now ruined. So what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to grab a degreaser. In this case, I'm using Cred Cutter. This is obviously not a sponsored video because I don't give two craps about Cred Cutter, but it's just what I'm using now. So it's a degreaser and a stain remover. I'm going to grab a dirty rag. I'll be right back. So I got me a rag and my degreaser. Just gonna spray the rag with the degreaser, and then I'm going to just clean this off. Give it enough runs. I'm gonna go on the other end here. I'm just gonna let it sit on there for a little bit before I go and wipe it off. This one's kind of sticking, it's all right. This one's all right too, actually. And so now, after a couple seconds, I'll grab a dry part of my rag and then go and just rub that off. Do the same thing on this side. Cool. Now let's see if the tape sticks. Cool. And voila, the tape sticks. Some people might think, I'm not sure how many people would think this because it wouldn't be logical, but some of you might think, hey, why not just leave it? Just leave that coating because, you know, the person paid money to put that on there. The customer's paying probably more money to get this tint on there, and the tint is permanent. So if I opt to allow some of this to go into the tint, as opposed to making sure that the tint job is clean, then I'm probably doing more of a disservice to the customer. That's number one. Number two, the customer doesn't give two shits about the coating that the detailer put on her windows. Guaranteed, she doesn't give two shits. Anyways, I'm gonna go continue to do this on the other end. Maybe somebody just learned something cool, you know, degreaser, take off the shine that is put on some cars, on panels, if your tape is not sticking, and then make sure to dry it off, and then you should be able to stick. All right, I'm gonna go continue, I'll be right back. Okay, so after you're done taping it, what I like to do, because often this happens, the tape can sometimes, check it, roll back on itself, like it's doing there, it's kind of doing it there, it's doing it over on this window too, you probably can't see that. So I like to grab one of my tools and then just push the tape down, because if you leave it like that, or tear it off, but if you leave it like that, it will cause problems when you install your tint. So I have to peel that down, get it out of the way. I'm gonna do it on all windows before I forget. Sometimes this is a sign that, you know, you just didn't put the tape flush enough, and sometimes it's a sign that the seals are too tight, and so that even that extra tiny bit of, you know, that small width of tape could be the difference when it's rubbing up against an extremely tight seal. In this case, it's just that I don't think I put enough. Actually, how tight are these? Yeah, they're not tight at all. Not really. So it's just that I didn't put it in flush. Hopefully you guys can still hear me with the heater running. I don't want to keep turning it off because it is cold outside. All right, let's get ready here. Dang, I should have done this already. So we are doing 9 windows. I'm just checking to see the type of rear windshield we have versus what the plotter is showing me. Oh yeah, cool. I think this is a really good time while I'm doing this 2017 X6. Probably a really good time to talk about this plotter here, actually. There's a lot of crap in the garage. We just moved, like we did a whole bunch of moving and stuff in the basement. And so there's a lot of crap in here, but I would like to talk about this plotter. I use the US Cutter SC2. Obviously this is not a sponsored video. I don't really do those because this video is sponsored by Tint. And if you are looking to become an automotive window tinter and you want the best way to run your business, the most efficient automatic type of way to run your business, definitely check out Tint. That's www.tintbolt.com. Okay, so my US Cutter SC2 is the first and only plotter I've ever used. I mean, I've used the Graph Tech when I did a little stint at one of the premium shops here in Calgary, but ultimately it seems like they all work the same, but I don't have too much experience again with those other machines. I mostly have experience with my own. And so I've had this plotter for, let's say 3 years, but I did not use it for those 3 years. I've only really used it for 1 year. So for the last year, I've been using it. Before that, all I did was hand cutting. I don't know if you've watched any of my previous videos. There might even be a video already up of me doing a full hand cut on a vehicle and showing you guys how to do that if you were interested. If that video is available, then we'll link it somewhere. But anyways, I've always been doing hand cut. The reason why I stopped doing hand cut and decided to use the plotter, even though I had the plotter the whole time, is only because by the end of the day, because I was working at the time like 12 hours a day, and by the end of the day, you know, 3-4 cars, my body was very tired. So I said, screw this, let me use the plotter. I didn't use the plotter to speed up my workflow, because ultimately, and if you watch that video where I do a hand cut on a whole old vehicle, I think it was a 2000 Nissan Stagea C. It's like a car that's not even from here. So the plotter didn't have it at all. I double cut the film. So the plotter doesn't actually save me all that much time. It does save me in film because there's less wastage. And it also saves me, most importantly, in like energy, because holding rolls of film, especially when they're brand new rolls of, you know, 40-inch, 36-inch film, and you're holding it out and you're trying to like grab the film and put the film here, it actually becomes tiring on the body. Just that for me, because I don't work out really. So my shoulder muscles having to have that static weight standing out in front of me, over time it just made me very, very tired. And then you do that, and I was working 6 days a week, so it became tiring. So then I started to use my plotter. So let's talk about this plotter. I bought this plotter online from US Cutter, had it shipped over up here to Canada. And so it doesn't come with this arm. Obviously this arm I bought off Amazon. I attached it to the table so I could hover my laptop right above the plotter. This just seems like the best type of and most compact setup that I could think of. Anyway, so this US Cutter is actually pretty good, I would say, paired up with the core software. It works with FVD, film and vinyl design. I've used FVD before. It works with that plotter, that software as far as I know. And I haven't really used any other softwares, but I would imagine it probably works with all of them. It's really not up to the plotter, it's more up to the software itself to be compatible. And if I got it working with core, I think it'll work with anything else, Expel, whatever you might think of. Really, there isn't really much to talk about. I'll just pull this, the blade out, if you will. I'll pull the blade out. This is a typical thing. You'd have to basically do this with any plotter. So here is the blade is right in there, if you can see that. It's actually covered in Teflon. Lots of dust. So it was covered in Teflon. So y'all can see that blade in there. But you see that blade? Right now it's got I think a 45-degree blade in there. The blades you can buy separately. This whole cartridge you can buy separately. The Teflon tape you can buy separately. I haven't had to fix this, so I don't know what that experience is going to be like. But so far it's been a workhorse. It hasn't given me any problems. I don't abuse my equipment, so it should last me for a long time. The blades, they will run out because they will dull, and you'll notice that when you're weeding your film. But really, this plotter has been great for me. I have no complaints whatsoever. And at the time, it cost me like 1,200 Canadian. I think that's like $9-ish at the time US. Versus the plotters that cost $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. It depends on what you're doing, because this will cut, obviously, tint, and it's not made to cut tint. That's the most important thing. This is not designed. Not many of the plotters, if any, are designed to cut window film. They're designed to cut like vinyl and PPF. So if you're into those things too, this is going to be a great machine for you. I really can't say enough, but that's enough about this plotter, because there really isn't very much for me to say. It's not like I don't plan on doing a tutorial on the plotter at any point. I do believe US Cutter does have tutorials, and even Ralph, I don't remember the channel for Ralph. If you're into learning to window tint, you probably already have landed on Ralph Flex Films, Ralph's videos. But I watched his video and it helped me a lot. He has a video where he's setting up a US Cutter SC200 or SC2 to cut film. Anyways, let me get to work here, because now I'm falling behind as always. So let me just get this set up. All right, for the front, my customer is putting on 35%. Well, actually, all around the computer, my customer is putting 35% all around. So just darkening up the back windows that are roughly 20% factory, roughly. I didn't measure it. I don't bother with those meters. There really isn't much of a point unless your customer is picky as hell. But I don't think that they're gonna be that accurate, to be honest. So you're better off just eyeballing it. Boom. Gonna cut the front. Yeah, 35% all around. Let's do it. Oh shit, wait a second. No, they're not. I just remembered. It was a whole long conversation with the customer, and at first she wanted 35% all around, or she got to the point where she said she wanted 35% all around, but now I remember she wants 50% in the front, 35% in the back. So what I'm doing is I'm considering, even though it's a pointless thing to consider, but I'm considering if I continue to use the roll to just cut the back windows, or do I swap it and cut the front? And let me explain that. I generally start with cutting the front, and the reason why I do that is to give the car, if the car is wet, if I clean the rear windshield, to give it time to dry before I can apply all the wax. The reason why in this case I'm reconsidering it, because obviously I put the 35 in the machine, in the plotter, and I don't need the 35 right now, I need the 50. But I'm considering if I should just wet shrink the back instead of having to wait for it to dry before I can apply the wax and let the wax dry. Maybe I'll just wet shrink it. And the reason why I think this vehicle is not a terrible car to wet shrink is just because of how flat the rear windshield looks to be, at least from my point of view. I don't know that it is flat, it just kind of looks like it is. Yeah, it really, really looks like wet shrinking this will not be a problem. So I think that's what I'll do. I'll just continue with the 35 and then wet shrink this rear windshield and then put a 50 on the front. So here's a perfect example. I know I don't have the mic on. Here's a perfect example of what can happen when a plotter's blade is not cutting to the depth that it needs to on the film. Here I have one of the rear roll down windows. Try to show you this without crimping up the film, so we can see where the film, the plotter line is. You can see here where the film is nice. Here's the backing sheet. Here's where the cut is actually for the film, and we can see where it's starting to not properly cut through. Okay, I don't know if this is a better example. Here's where the top of the window actually is, right? The weed is supposed to be this top half, and then whatever is rest of the backing sheet. But we can see here, and especially here where it gets a little lighter, this is because the film, the plotter, did not cut all the way through. So let me take a little bit of this piece off right here. Right, this is the top half where the weed is. But you see how it kind of breaks apart here as it's trying to go in. It just kind of breaks apart because it's not fully weeded. Or sorry, the blade is not going deep enough. So you kind of just have to be careful with that. Obviously this is the top of the window, so these things will be noticeable. Because I do the blade finish, it doesn't look so bad, but just be aware that you may have to calibrate your blade every so often to make sure that it's cutting to the proper depth. I may have bent it a little bit. We'll see how that looks when it's installed. We have our piece, and we weed it. I use my nail to kind of like peel back the weeded part, and then just peel away. You don't want to peel into your cut, you want to peel away from your actual piece, because obviously if something goes wrong, you don't want it to destroy the entire pattern. You want to keep the pattern as safe as possible. All right, I'm going to continue.